I would like to propose that money. So again, I'll use the term protocol. Protocol is this
Yeah.
norm for interaction, right? We have
Yes.
we
Yes.
have
Yeah.
language protocols, we
Vector.
have nonverbal,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. And protocols, again, back to Whitehead, they tend to be the thing that we put beneath our conscious awareness, right? They just become implicit in our behavior or embedded in our behavior, I guess, where you don't
Yes.
even think
Yes.
about it,
Yes.
but it's
Yeah.
performing a very important function, allowing
Very
us
much.
to connect, mind or action properly. So I think money, proposing money as the base layer protocol for human interaction. This is something that works cross culturally in theory. Like if we're just use gold, for instance, you don't need gold is sort of culture agnostic. Like so long as a group was ever plugged into distributed cognition in a way that they understood trade, you understand that gold is valuable. I don't need to understand your cultural norms or whatever surrounding it. So there's this, it's a psychotechnology that so I guess maybe put it this way. If it's a protocol, then we're building applications, if you will, on top of the protocol. And these applications can really be businesses, could be social institutions,
Yeah.
could even be religious institutions. I think you could say, like, a lot of the thing that led to the downfall of the medieval church was their economic corruption, right? They were taking in indulgences and, all of that. So I do agree that there's a trade-off when we start to look at things through money. Like we're quantifying things, so we're giving up a qualitative resolution on reality, if you will. But to the degree that we can keep that base layer protocol incorruptible, we can then we can build better applications on top of it, like better businesses, better social institutions, whatever. And that is, it's I'm blurred here because money's a base layer protocol, but it's also a psychotechnology. If we can make that incorruptible, which is essentially what Bitcoin is, it's an incorruptible protocol, something that no one can change.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden we're cleansing the protocol layer so we can build better institutions and businesses on top of it, but we're also cleansing the influence the psychotechnology has on us, right? The central bank today, so just for an instance, the central bank today can just print money. They could go buy any business in the world. So that, say they just decided that zombie tissue production was a good business to be in, they could go and just bid the shares of that stock till kingdom come, essentially. No market actor wants to buy any zombie tissue, but the central bank has just effectively twisted the valuation or twisted distributed cognition towards an aim that they arbitrarily determined. And when I say this, the shareholders of central banks are like 0.00001% of the population.
Yes.
Yet they control the market-based salience landscape, if you will, of all market actors, 8 billion people.
Yes. Yes.
So it's like, holy shit, we're in quite the pickle here.
It's a kind of tyranny is what I hear you saying.
Yes, it's an economic tyranny, but it twists our perceptions on the world, right? Where people, and I think you see this, people idolizing the dollar, people idolizing wealth, people, fiat culture, fiat mentality.
You made an argument last time that would strengthen the argument you're making now, if I understand you correctly, which is they not only idealize it, there's a craving because there's a sense in which, like you were saying, like you have to consume. You made the argument, it forces you into a consumerist mentality. Isn't this a clear example of what you're talking about?
Yes.
Because the currency is corruptible, right? You are always incentivized to translate it into other things as fast as you possibly can.
So you called this, I believe, temporal discounting?
Yes, hyperbolic discounting.
Hyperbolic discounting. So this
co-opting. You're co-opting. So hyperbolic discounting is across species, but you're hijacking that function when part of what's powering consumerism is you already have an inbuilt, not inbred, that was exactly the wrong word. You have an inbuilt, right? Machine for hyperbolic discounting.
I'm sorry, I'm talking about salience discounting. Is that a different?
Same thing.
Same thing. Okay. So this in Austrian economic speak is they call time preference. So the lower your
Yes.
time preference, the more long-term oriented you are, and the
Yeah.
higher your time preference, the more short-term you are. One
Right.
major component of this is money or the interest rate. And it's if your
Yeah.
money's losing value over time, you have a direct financial incentive to spend it before it loses value. So this
Yes.
has the effect of raising your time preference, which is a bit counterintuitive because that means making you more short term.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And and a lot of Austrians argue this too, that civilization is quantified by how collectively long-term thinking we are.
Yeah, we can't do intergenerational projects like we used to be able to. We used to be able to build cathedrals.
Exactly.
Zach Science talks about how education has gone from being an intergenerational relationship to being a much more highly localized relationship. Yeah, so it sounds like you're happy with my proposal that a specific instance of your argument is a consumerist mentality that is plugging into and exacerbating a biological predisposition towards hyperbolic discounting, salience discounting.
Absolutely.
I think that's a bona fide good argument. I think that's a good argument.
And I would add to it, so that is inducing us into capital consumption more than it is capital accumulation, which unwinds civilization. Well, again, another metric for how civilized we are is how much capital have we accumulated. You could think of capital as like a buffer against risk or uncertainty. Things go wrong, we have resources to draw upon and survive.
Right.
So it's drawing down this stock of civilization, if you will. And then it's also because of the price distortion I mentioned earlier, it's causing a misallocation of capital. So the capital we do put to work, it's not going to work consistent with market actor wishes, right? People voting with buying and selling. It's increasingly directed by the policy of central banks, effectively. It goes from being a supply and demand, this emergent, spontaneous dynamic, to something that's centrally planned and determined arbitrarily. And that's really bad too.
Is it not the case also that one of the things people are going to convert their money into in a consumptive manner is they're going to try and convert their money into status and power?
Yes.
And so it's going to be a corrupting influence on politics as well then. Is that reasonable to surmise from what you've been saying?
I am about to publish this piece, actually. It's funny you bring that up, that the very notion of politics, the reason it is such a major component of our individual and group identity is because property rights can be violated. So there's an incentive to try and get as close to the seat of power as possible, which in this case, it's the government, the monopolists on violence. They are the enforcer of property rights. So they determine whose property is what. And if again, when they print money, they're violating people's property rights. They're stealing from anyone that's using the dollar as a store of value, for instance. When they give you a mandatory lockdown or a mandatory vaccine or eminent domain, which is where they directly confiscate your property. The entire purpose of government is to preserve property rights, but it's nested because property rights can be violated. The enforcer of the property rights can violate them to their own interests. And this is another lens on Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin's the first property right that's independent of the monopoly on violence. So it only depends on computer code and it's just information. So you don't need a local monopolist on violence, enforcing the rights via the law or whatever. So sorry, long answer to your question. I think the very emphasis of politics in the modern age is premised on the violability of property. So I think as a result of Bitcoin succeeding, we'll actually care. We will have much less of a reason to care about one another's political leanings if property can't be violated. It's like, if I don't like what you think, we have a disagreement. Well, great. We just go our separate ways. But in the current model, it's like trying to force this whole, these heterogeneous viewpoints under one umbrella, if you will, in the nation. And it's creating this political strife and discord that's not necessary. We just have smaller, more fragmented government that was more specific to the wishes of its population.
I see. Are you like,
And I'm going to send you that piece actually, if you'll, it's not very long, but you influence a lot of it because I talk about psychotechnologies a lot at the end. Because
I appreciate it.
I think that what this is, and back to the institutional overthrow, the inventing of the printing press led to the acceleration of literacy and numeracy.
But also the printing of money.
Well, yeah, later the printing of money, which is kind of ironic in a way. But at the time, people woke up to the church, right? They're like, what is this dominant institution I'm giving this money to? All of a sudden they had a direct relationship with God. They could open the book and read the word for themselves because they had the psychotechnology installed.
Yeah.
That led, so this psychotechnological upgrade led to this institutional overthrow. But then to your point, the printing press now, even though it's not even a printing press anymore, it's just entry on a database.
But it originally was.
Yeah. It was a printing press. That's led to the corruption of money time and time again. It seems like Bitcoin could be another one of those upgrades. You know, to the extent that money is a psychotechnology, we could now have this protocol that's not corruptible that would lead to the overthrow of the dominant institution today, which is, you know, this complex of the nation state and the central bank, the monopoly on violence and the monopoly on money. You break the monopoly on money, it at least mitigates the power of the monopoly on violence to the point that it's held in check by the wishes of market actors. Whereas today they do literally whatever they want. They'll just print currency to do whatever they want until the currency hyperinflates, which is what we've seen time and time again.